All right, our second one. I apologize, you couldn't see that earlier, so I'll go over that one more time. I moved it over 1 to make a whole number, and then I moved it 1 over here to match. So I'm going to rewrite this because sometimes it gets a little confusing. And I'm going to move the decimal point over enough times to make this a whole number out here. So I move it 1 time. So I'm going to move it 1 time in here. I'm going to rewrite it, and it will be 36 into 258. My decimal point is now here, so I'm going to bring it back up there. Does not matter if this is a whole number. I still am going to bring my decimal point up because I might need it as I solve. So 36 does not go into 2. It does not go into 25, but it does go into 258. So let's see. First of all, I'm going to write here that we had 1 place. Okay. And I also have to remember to move up my decimal point here. Okay. So I'm going to, let's see here, 36 goes into, I'm going to guess about 6 or 7. So I'm going to do 7, 42, 21, 252. Okay, so 252. So that's 7, 6. So I did need to bring so remember, we always have to add a 0, okay, if we need to keep going. I cannot have remainders. So 36 goes in 1 time, which will be 36. It will have 24. I'm going to have to bring down another 0. Okay. That is going to be 6. And that ends up being 216, which turns into 24. If I add another 0, it's going to be 240 again. Now, what happens if you get to this situation here? I'm going to keep going, and it's going to be a 6, and it's never going to end. Well, Ms. Ray, you told me I had to keep going until it didn't end, until I had no more to go. Well, sometimes numbers, when you divide decimals into decimals, you end up with numbers that repeat. So it's just going to have 6 as many times as it can go. So then you would just put a number above it like that, saying this 6 is going to keep going. Not over the whole thing, just what's going to keep repeating. Like that. This means the 6 will repeat over and over and over and over again. So you can end up with pages and pages and pages and pages, and you're still going to end up with a million 6s. So if that happens, do it a couple times and make sure that you're going to keep getting that result, because sometimes you might end up getting out of that pattern. But if you do it more than twice, and you go a third time and you're saying, okay, well, it's going to keep going, then stop. Okay? Let's do a couple examples. I'm going to do, this is from your textbook. So if you want to get out your textbook and follow along, I'm on page 247 in volume 1. And I'm going to be working on 11, 12, 13, 14, and 14. So 11 is 20. Okay. And there we go. All right, so I'm going to move it over as many times as it needs. Actually, I'm going to write them all down, because we have been practicing where you write them down, and then if you wanted to try, you could try it on your own first and then come back. All right, so these are the first two. All right. Here we go. I'm going to move over 1, 2 times. That 2 times gives me a whole number, which is 25. I'm going to move this over the same 1, 2 times, and then move it back up there, okay? So that is my problem that I'm going to solve. 25 does not go into 4, but it does go into 47. It goes in 1 time, which is 25. Bring down the 5. 225, I believe, is 9, because 250 is 10. But I always double check. 45, 18, 225. I have nothing else to bring down. That is my answer. Okay, let's look at the next one. I'm going to move it over 1, 2, 1, 2, up. So I'm going to rewrite it. I do not need my zeros. I always forget I don't need my zeros. If I move it 456, gotta move my decimal point up. So 4 goes into 456 this minute. Okay, so 1, bring down the 5, 1, I have 1 left over, bring down my 6, and that will be 4. I do not have to continue going because I have a 0. So my answer here is 114. Typically when you do this, you'll end up with whole numbers, but you always put it up here in case you have to keep going. Then your answers will continue after the decimal points. So don't always say it will always be whole numbers. But a lot of the times when I do this, I end up with whole numbers. Just I noticed a pattern. All right, 0.05. Okay. We go over 1, 2 times. 1, 2 times, up. So now it's 505. That's my little arrow telling me to move it up. It does not go into 1, but it does go into 10. 5 goes into 5 one time. My answer is 21. And my last one that I'm going to do is 1/10 into 182.8. Okay, so I'm going to move it over 1. I'm going to move it over 1. So now I'm going to have 1 into 182.8. So 1 goes into it 1 time, 8 times, 2 times, 8 times. And if you were looking at it, 1 goes into the number, that number of times. Because 1 times 1,120, 1 times 1,828 is 1,828. All right, so those are our example problems. And now you're going to go and do some practice online.